Hello everyone. July the 17th. The energy's just shifted in big ways in the last few hours. You probably can feel it too. The nodes changed from Taurus and Scorpio into Aries and Libra. More on that soon coming. But the energies are really ramping up. It's getting more Martian, action oriented, and again we had two solar flares just shortly after. As you can see here, this is one of them. Actually, it was a long standing event for more than 2 hours. Here you can see the graph. It was for more than 2 hours. They say it was above M5 intensity here in this little blog. Although this explosion was not an X-class, it was more powerful than many X-class flares would be. Why? Because it lasted so long. The flare's X-ray output was above M5 for more than an hour. So this just happened here from this sunspot, which is 82, 87 degrees ahead of the sun. Here it reads it, you see 81 west M5 and 87 west the M7 flare, both from this sunspot 3363. As you can see, 3363. So in astrology, as always, is interesting to see where is the source and where does the, more particularly, where is the energy pushed towards, in which planet's direction. So here I have the heliocentric chart of that moment, of the first flare, 11:34 p.m. tonight. And in Greenwich time, we're not yet there time-wise, but in Greenwich, it's 0 meridian, and here you see this is the Earth. So yes, it was close to midnight here. Here with the local, yeah, the sun would be down here if we would see it as a geocentric chart. I mean, this is just a parallel transference for those of you who are wondering why these ascendant, descendant, why these houses that way. It's kind of the way it works. There is, I guess the easiest to explain it is resonance. Anyway, 80 degrees ahead of the Earth here, we look at the sun here, you have to imagine, and then the flare went off here, 87, 81 degrees, so that would be 22 would be 87, and 81 would be 15. So here you can see this is where Chiron is. So Chiron is getting the main energy of that blast eventually, and Chiron is quite far away from the sun, so it will take quite a few days. Just not long ago, on the 12th actually, as you probably have heard or seen in my feed, there were 3 strong flares of about same category, M5, in that region, which were directed towards Ceres, who's just about to enter heliocentric Scorpio on the 20th. Yes, it's intensifying the climate overall. What does it mean? Okay, this is definitely always the interesting question, aside from the beauty of the alignments and the obvious confirmation we get when big energy shifts happen and we have solar flares at the same time. It's really an amazing symphony out there, and the randomness of the sun flaring up or releasing energy at random moments, but in synchronicity with these big shifts energetically is truly outstanding in itself. So I wrote, we're getting into really most unusual times, much more real than it's been, and it just has started. It seems we have a cut through the surface of something, and it's now really spilling into the mainframe of existence. It's like also on the level of social media and such, I have observed in the last time already that there's much less censoring going on, and also from the themes which are allowed to be played on YouTube and such. Just thinking of Dr. John Campbell talking about excess death already since quite a while. Nobody stops him, which is remarkable, important, and seemingly people are starting to listen. This researcher Dr. Campbell has on his show, I will post a link underneath, I just make a note here. She has done all the research. She's a medical doctor, and then she has done the research on all the statistics, and she's publishing peer-reviewed stuff, and she gets lots of positive feedback from other practitioners, doctors all through Europe. She's from Denmark, so this is symptomatic for a total shift of who is there speaking up and being heard, and the people are starting to listen to the alternate. I mean, how long could it take really for that to happen? We saw that coming, it was obvious, and the Venus Chiron simultaneous retrograde on the 23rd is really when the energies move in a new direction, move in a totally new manifestation of openness and healing and coming together and bridging the gaps and caring for one another. All of that is becoming super important, and it will really cancel out all the control influences who try still to steer the boat of how society should evolve and such. It will be they will literally just being pushed out of the frequency band of communications. They will not be listened to anymore, because they have degraded to futility. It's really nothing which comes out of the official channels anymore. It has any relevance. It's all just noise. Even the headlines of my phone, when I sometimes scroll through it, of the main screen, which is factory set, I guess, it's more and more garbage, nothing really of worth and value, and not even a scientific article anymore. So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's getting shallower and shallower, and that in itself is causing people to look a little bit further, and then once the door opens and everybody meanwhile has these personal connections to people who are seriously feeling the repercussions of what has been going on the last 3 years. This is the great awakening we are just seeing the very first serious signs of. Also, I wrote initiating the apocalypse, and apocalypse is an interesting word. It means uncovering. It's Greek, naturally. The syllable apo means something undoing, and whatever the exact word is, I looked it up, is saying to cover something. So it's the uncovering, really, that's what the apocalypse is. The great revelation, as it also says. And all that starting to really kick into high gear with Venus and Chiron simultaneously stationing, turning retrograde, actually in between the two, and I will cover this in a special video because it's so momentous. Between those two alignments within 24 hours, between the two is the exact 90-degree square of the lunar nodes with Pluto. That will be on the 23rd, most exact. Pluto then being here at the handle of the waning square, because the North Node is the main character where the direction is heading to, where evolution pulls us towards. Now in Aries, as I say, that Martian energy of action oriented, of getting into the mode of really manifesting hands-on, and also in that sense putting that male energy in the driver's seat. Up to now here in Taurus, where the node was for the last 18 months, it was way more the feminine approach of nurturing and of building foundation structures and kind of creating the inventory and the real roots in the ground to then withstand the storm, which is now getting real here with Aries at the bow of the ship, so to say, where we're heading toward. And with the Libra South Node, this is actually a really nice combination. The Libra South Node gives lots of diplomacy, even though we not particularly need that anymore at this time, but it really helps to bring people together, to unite them, to not be inflaming and radical to that point, but very human and kind and caring for higher values, greater harmony all over. That is Libra, and that is there in abundance. And so we had just let's just look at the astrology for a while here, because I'm getting here carried away by describing what I'm seeing. But let's just look at the little facts here. Jupiter was rising here when that first flare a couple hours ago was at its peak. Jupiter rising again. We had that in other occasions too. Jupiter has been playing a main role of really churning the wheel. That's how I like to see Jupiter. Jupiter is the main engine pushing for a new direction, a greater expansion, a higher standard. Everything wants to grow and expand with Jupiter. That is the bottom line here. And then naturally the Mercury square here. I mean, this chart, I could talk about it alone for a long time. Let's just keep going. You can stop the video at any time and look closer at these charts. This was the second flare when it peaked, and that was when the sun was exactly at midnight here in Greenwich. Again, short after new moon. And if we have a quick peek into the heliocentric alignment here of that second flare, which was even stronger. So let's just zoom forward here to 006. Okay, you see, then you see this beautiful grand trine in the heliocentric geometry right now as we speak. Pluto and Sedna here being the main characters. That beautiful trine, which is in the heavens now already the second year, and will be most exact heliocentrically in early 2024. It is the piece which is created between this kind of natural pull towards a transformation and shedding of the skin, and in harmony with something which has a very it's kind of the Akashic records. I almost like to call Sedna a little bit of that. It's a library of all that has been. Sedna has enormous amounts of hidden information still to bring to us. It's a well, a treasure chest in that sense. Yes, it demands a price. In that sense, you have to be ready to go deep into the cave, into the mountain, into the darkness to find it, and it needs that readiness to shut and close down all the noise which could make it impossible to really hear all these fine and delicate sounds coming out of the deep. And then we have Mars and Mercury and Sedna, not Sedna, this time it is a palace, which are now channeling these energies from Pluto and Sedna, kind of bringing it out into the open, bringing it into discussion, and it is also a lots of secrets which are coming to the forefront. And when Pluto is involved, it's always at the same time there's some sort of a power issue and struggle there. At best, kind of a widening of the audience. Pluto had also much to do with the ability to reach millions of people at once. It's kind of that force which is able to multiply itself. And then Jupiter and Ceres here. This opposition will get exact around the 25th, 26th of July. And again, remember Ceres entering Scorpio on the 20th, which I mentioned in my last video. Anyway, you see these two charts in itself are quite amazing. And if we now go back here quickly to the new moon, which sets the tone for this next solely lunar cycle, Capricorn, and also here the midheaven in this chart is in the Capricorn ward of Scorpio, lots of Capricorn energy, and then just as I said 90 minutes later or so that is when the nodes changed again, Scorpio, midheaven, and Capricorn rising still, and the sun and the moon at the 7th house cusp. So in itself, this chart here with the sun at the 7th house together with the moon, exactly at the sunset point, where the solar and lunar energies have the best way to really manifest themselves on the surface of this planet. So that shows this is a momentous month we are getting into. And if we spend another minute or so here just with this chart, the nodal shift, what is interesting that midheaven in the Libra dwad 27 till 30, and so is the ascendant 22, 30 to 25. This is also the Libra dwad. So Libra is accentuated, and Libra is a south node now. So again, this resonates with what I just said, the importance of that south node energy, of that Venusian benevolence, and knowing that everything in harmony around me can be supporting not just myself but everybody else. It creates a new climate, a climate of harmony and balance and beauty and acceptance, all of that at the base to then accomplish our task of brave forward into the unknown. That's kind of how it feels. Interesting also that Arrokoth is here at the ascendant together with Hilanome in this moment when the nodes get activated, rung into that new direction, when that new direction is initiated. That moment with Arrokoth and Hilanome, Hilanome again, Arrokoth the one which sees the whole picture, and there that's also hexagram 61 for those of you who are familiar with that overlay. 61, that empty center where every thing comes together into a symmetrical understanding and falls in coherence. Hilanome, the one who is ready to sacrifice herself for her lover, following him into death, even that much dedication is in this force to bring healing and harmony and beauty into the other world, even. A very spiritual combination here, all in the full moon axis and the new moon axis, sorry, and again this new moon also being the initial moment for this whole 18-month period. So that's how important this present structure, geometry is. It will be the foundation for such a long time coming. Anyway, I leave it at this, and I will hopefully make another one. We will see. And thank you again for listening and following my excitement, spreading that excitement in your environment, in your friends and acquaintances. Just if you can catch on to this higher trajectory. There's two different trajectories, and we have the choice: go for the higher or just be doomed to follow the lower, which definitely eventually falls over the cliff. That is not so hard to extrapolate at this point. So anyway, it's our choice. That's what I'm saying. And the more you're spreading it, the more you're really carrying that fire forward, the more you're truly helping in changing this earth into a paradise. And that's what we will do. There's no question to that. It's just a matter of how fast can it happen. And the more we are on board, the easier it goes, and the less casualties it will cause. Anyway, it is that deep love for what is, and picking up on that loving presence which is all around us, and channeling that godly frequency of the, which is really the quality of space, of its divinity is all around and within us everywhere. And the more we are aware of that and able to connect to that and inhale it and bring it into our system, ground it and give it manifest shapes and expressions, that is what is necessary at this time. And we are then together generating this frequency, which will be so high, and we will get all the support from nature, from the sun, and whatever else is necessary to lift that frequency band to a level where all that alien energy which has been sneaking into this dimension probably hundreds of thousands of years ago already, and we will push it out and we will make sure it cannot come back. Anyway, that's my monologue here, and thanks again for listening, and more soon to come. It's amazing, exciting, and really wonderful times already now, and it only can get better. Thank you, love you all.